Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Swinging from the Hips, where we're up to episode 18. And today on the show, we review the 134 overs of the second test. Who knows, we might be able to get through every ball that was bowled. We also look forward to the third test as Pakistan tries to level the series and England try and make it 2-0. The CPL gets underway, and hopefully, if we haven't run over too much time, we may have a look at the international career of Mahindra Singh Dhoni, who has pulled stumps on his international career. It's a full board tonight, and thanks to lockdown version 2, we have Rohit back after a week off, and also Taz and Tarun back from last week. We're just waiting for Taz to join us, but welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, very good.
That's good. That's good. Tarun, now we've got the cricket season drawing closer to us in the southern part of the world here. You're involved with QMU cricket up here in Auckland. What have you got planned? And once we come out of lockdown, what's going to be going on?
So Taz actually is our IT whiz. He's a marketing guru. So we're in the process of going through our junior registrations at the moment. So we're kind of trying to get the word out there about cricket and trying to get kids engaged. A lot of the kids, as you'd know, have missed out on a fair bit of winter sport. So hopefully we can capitalize on that and try and get them active through playing a bit of cricket over the summer. So
that sounds fantastic. Now, and what have you got available for senior players? What sort of things? Do you have to be a pro, or what level of cricket are you looking for? How do you get involved?
If that place allows or accepts people like myself, I think there's room for everyone here, So it's a club for everyone. It is quite an inclusive club at QMU. We've had Steve Nobilo on the show before, and we've heard about the good work the club has done over the years with Taz. So you definitely don't have to be a pro. It'll help if you are in and around the West Auckland region, because it just makes it easier for the commute. And I'm sure we can find any keen cricketer a game of cricket on the weekends.
And as you said, we've had Stephen Nobilo on the show before, and one of the things that he really did sort of, I suppose, allude to or really stress is the fact is that QMU itself is quite a family-orientated club because of the fact that it's almost semi-rural, isn't it?
Oh, you got to be careful calling QMU semi-rural. No, you're right. You're right. I actually really enjoy going out there. Like, we kind of get through that gridlock between Te Aratu and through to Royal Road, Avondale and through to Royal Road. Once you get past that, you get to Westgate, and it's like you're in English country. It's actually really cool. It gets really cool really quickly, and it makes it all worthwhile. So that is good fun.
So if you're hankering for a bit of English countryside, go on down to QMU and join up. As I said, if you've been sitting around packing the bread on over lockdowns, give Tarun a call at QMU. Or look, if you're not close to QMU, get involved with whatever cricket club is around you and close to you. Even in social cricket, there's plenty of options available. So we've actually got Taz joining us now too. Fantastic. Good evening, Taz. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. And as we sort of mentioned before, after a week off, History Guy is back in the chair. So let's throw it over to Rohit for This Week in History.
Yes, good evening all. Hey, let's start with the most dramatic duck in the history of cricket. He only needed 4 more runs to reach that average of 100, but the poor old Don getting out bowled second ball for a duck, so he missed out on getting that average of 100. And however, Aussies did win the match point innings, so he didn't get a chance in that second innings either. So unfortunate for him. And that was 14th of August, shall I say, in 1948. Moving into 1990, same day, Sachin Tendulkar at the young age, 17, he says a test against the English at Old Trafford. Now, thing with him was he battled with Manoj Prabhakar for the last 2.5 hours. So well done there in his early days. Now here's one for the West Indies, Clive Lloyd's team back in 84. They dismissed England for 202 at the Oval to win the test by 172 runs. That's the only time England have lost a home series 5-0. Moving on to 15th of August, And let's have a look here. Oh, yes, Fred Truman becomes the first bowler to take 300 test wickets when he had Neil Hawke from Australia caught in the slips at the Oval. And we might have to line up a bit of footage for this one, but we saw on 15th of August 1963 the birth of Robert Charles Russell, and here's a bit of footage, better known as Jack Russell, with some brilliant takes standing up to swing bowling. And we'll just watch a couple of these. I was just impressed with this keeping as a keeper myself, or, wannabe keeper. Just fantastic takes, these, wasn't it? And the next one's even better, heading down leg side. Well, while the footage is playing, I'll carry on here. Now, back on 15th of August 2015, Sri Lanka pull off one of their greatest wins after a first innings deficit of 192 and being 95 for 5 in the second innings, where Dinesh Chandapal scored an unbeaten 161. A fantastic stumping. Dinesh Chandapal scored an unbeaten 162, leaving India 176 to win. But Harif cleaned out the Indians with 7 for 48 and pulling off a remarkable win there. Now, 16th of August 1974 saw the birth of Shiv Narayan Chandapal, one of West Indies' greats. And it was an interesting start to his career where he scored 200s in his first 53 tests. Most people would have probably got dropped by them, being a batsman and not going on with it. But the run machine, he got to his 10,000 runs in his 140th test. But, ever since that 53rd test, he just went on a run-scoring spree. And, 1950 saw perhaps arguably one of the fastest bowlers of them all, Jeff Thompson. He didn't have a great start on his debut, taking no wickets for 110, but was most likely due to that broken toe he played with. Moving on, now this is an interesting one. Labelled as one of the best one-day batsmen in the world by Steve Waugh at the time, Michael Bevan and Waugh put on 222 to help beat South Africa in an ODI at the Colonial Stadium in Melbourne. Now, Steve Waugh's century in that match was the 500th in one-day internationals, one ball after Michael Bevan had scored the 499th test one-day century. Now, the significance of this being in history was that it was the first international match to be played indoors. So it was the start of the indoor cricket stuff, outdoor-indoor. Moving on, we've got a fair bit here this evening, but not too far to go. 17th of August in 54, Pakistan won their very first test match after 8 attempts, and they secured a 24-run victory over England at the Oval. Oval's been mentioned a fair few times this evening already. 17th of August, moving on, in 1976. Now, this is an interesting one too. And Whispering Deaf, Michael Holding, became the only West Indies player at the time to take 14 wickets in a test, and he cleaned up Tony Greig, who infamously suggested before the series began that West Indies might have to grovel. I think that was a bad call early on by Tony there. And heading to the last one, 18th of August 2000, saw the first two-day test in 50 years. Yep, England, racing to victory in 2 days, beating the West Indies, who all bowled out for 61 and 26.2 overs, with Andy Caddick getting 4 wickets in 1 over, with all being bowled in swinging Yorkers. So there we have it, a bit of lineup for this evening with different things happening in history, but a varied amount.
No, that's definitely, and as you said, right back at the top of it, the interesting one there, poor old Don Bradman, probably
Absolutely.
one, discussed as being probably the greatest batsman, obviously arguably, but for many the greatest batsman, cricket player that's ever been, and he was a player that just liked perfection so much, and he missed out by 4 runs on having a perfect average of 100.
Yeah, what a shame.
Incredible, eh?
Incredible, absolutely incredible.
But he was the guy that you watched him play, and from the old footage when I was watching, old reels, and he was the guy that just see the ball hit the ball, It's amazing eye.
Absolutely.
Can't
I mean, well,
his technique.
No, you can't.
well, you put that technique down to the old water tank. out the back, the corrugated water tank, which you used to throw the golf ball against and play with the stump.
And to think they played on uncovered pitches back then too.
Yeah, that's the hard thing to sort of, the fact that they played on uncovered pitches, isn't it? You don't know, a bit of rain and you don't know what the pitch was going to do.
That's it. Incredible stuff. What you needed 4 more runs to reach 7,000 Test runs, so you missed out on that too. So I just missed out saying that.
Well, moving right along into this week in news, and I'll bring you that one, and it's just like, okay, so as we'll talk about later in the show, Mahindra Singh Dhoni announced his retirement from the international game. He's called it quits so that his last act in the game on an international stage, was being run out by Martin Guptill. But he will remain active in the lucrative IPL. And we will look at, as I said before, Dhoni's record a little bit later in the show. On sad news, former Indian opener Chetan Chauhan passed away from COVID-19 related complications. He played 48 tests and averaged 31.58. The Australian government has given green light for the Australians to go tour England in September. Now, they'll be going over there to play a ODI series and a T20 series. Now, Cricket South Africa is in a right mess. Chris Nzani has stepped down as the Cricket South Africa's president. Nasai Apiai, I hope I've got that close. I know I've got it wrong. The chief operations officer has been sacked. Clive Eckstein was dismissed in June and has taken CSA Cricket South Africa to court. Thinbai Moreau remains in mediation with Cricket South Africa after he was suspended. So who wants to step in to that mess? Well, Kugundri Govinda, the chief commercial officer, has been named as the acting chief executive. And good luck to her to try and sort that mess out and try and get South Africa back on the right road, so to speak, but especially in management anyway. Now, moving back to Australia, they will be reverting back to a single captain to support Aaron Finch as the captain of ODI and T20 teams. They went to dual vice captains after Sandpapergate, and now will be reverting back to a single vice captain to help with on-field management. And finally, in Dream 11, Fantasy League organization, will be taking over from Vivo as the naming rights sponsor for the IPL. Now, I wasn't able to confirm this, but from what I can work out in the exchange rates, they're paying something like $30 million for the naming rights for 1 year. Now, as I said, I could have got the conversion of that wrong, but it was something like 222 core, which I'm not quite sure, but I typed that into the exchange rate and it came out at 30 million US. Guys who understand the rupee, do you think that might be about right?
Indian rupee, Tarun better know. I can tell you about Pakistan rupees. That's
Pakistan rupee.
I'm not smart enough. I don't know how many zeros go in the rupees, like in those crores. So yeah. But, I did read an article that said it started off with DLF by getting the original rights for 40 million initially.
Yep.
And then it went to PepsiCo or someone somewhere. So it started at 40 million with somebody. It went to 200 million after that. And then up to 400, and then Vivo purchased it at 400 when PepsiCo pulled out during the 2013 or roughly around that time saga with match fixing, etc. That's when Vivo jumped in, and Vivo's now gone, walked away for this year.
For this year, yes.
Yeah, Dream 11 with, I think it's 40 odd million, 200 million for the thing. Again, it's the same average over 5 years, broken down for one. But
from what I read, it is actually slightly less than what Vivo were paying this on an annual basis.
Yeah. It's a little bit less,
a little bit less, yeah. But as I said, at this stage, it's only for 1 year. Vivo has the opportunity to come back in next year, don't they?
No, I think they do come back in next year.
Oh, they do come back in? Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So with our news out the way, week in history out the way, let's move on into the topics for this week. And at the top of the list is the second week. Who wants to start first? This is like, but seriously, what can we take out of a pretty damp test match? What did we learn from that 130 odd overs?
I mean, I guess like one thing they got right was the track was fresh, so which meant like I mean, if you were to have a result in a shortened game, that's probably an ideal track for it because it's a fresh track, enough moisture in it, a lot of sideways movement, and then in England as it moves in the air as well. So I think Pakistan just, to my surprise, batted for 90 odd overs. On a track like that, like where obviously it's a sort of zone unknown, like especially this time of the year, like in August, you don't expect the ball to do as much as it was doing.
Yep.
I don't know. What's your take, Tarun?
Yeah, I thought they batted really well, and 230 in England is not too shabby. Like you want to, if that ended up as a 270, 280, you would have taken that on a day one in England.
Yeah.
Especially with that bowling attack, and to have them. I mean, even if you look at the whole fixture, to see that they were 110 for 4, even now, you would think it's probably an even game, like quite a balanced game, and the next partnership would have dictated how the game would have swung.
Yeah, I mean, England, I think, dropped a few catches early on.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just that doesn't help,
Yeah.
And that's probably because, I mean, any team, even if Australia was here or any other team on that track against like how England opening bowlers were bowling, like 236 is a big score.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so
I mean-
I actually felt watching some of the game that if they were actually able to get in like 3.5 days of cricket, you might have actually got a result out of this game because there was actually quite a lot of playing and missing.
Yeah, and as I said, like if there were no drop catches, like Pakistan innings would have been shortened, and they managed to get a day and a half, technically day and a half out of 5. So if there was like even if you got like 3 days and better catching, either way, one or the other team would have won.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah. I'll tell you who would have been magic on that wicket. It would have been worth staying up all night to watch. Would have been Muhammad Asif.
Yeah.
Muhammad Asif on that would have been absolute joy to watch. I was scrolling through Facebook watch feeds, and then when Pakistan bowled England out up in one of the northern grounds for about 60 odd or 70 odd in one of the games, like in 2010 or something, maybe Australia. Yeah, I think they bowled Australia out. Oh man, I was watching those highlights and it was just beautiful. It just pushed in, straightens, pushed in, straightens.
I mean,
Yeah,
Azhar Ali bowled one ball, I think. And did you see that ball?
Nah.
No, so he actually, I mean, he bowled a medium pace. So he shaped it in. So starting from middle and then it was like perfect ball. If you get a chance, have a look. So even like someone like Azhar Ali, who's not a medium pacer, just bowled one ball and it was unplayable. I think Butler played and missed it.
So much for you talking him up as a leg spinner.
I mean, one thing I take one thing about this game good for Pakistan was actually that Azhar Ali was an LBW.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, sort of a track like this, if he was to get out LB, because he's been LB in last 4 innings, 2 in the previous test match and 2 in the warm-up game leading up to that. So I think hopefully he's out of it because he was opening up a little bit. But that's what we were talking last week. If he opens up a little bit, then he will get an outside edge. So Anderson got him out. But I think him not getting LB and trying to bet time was pretty great. And between Babar Azam and Rizwan, these two batted for 46 overs. So that's huge for obviously Pakistan top order, that because Babar Azam usually, if he scored 47, it's usually of 60 or 70 balls. He likes bat and ball. So I mean, keeping that in mind, so he faced 127 balls for his 47. That's slow for him, but he obviously sort of wanted to bat longer.
Rizwan has got a really nice technique. It's very compact. I think I like. He just looks like quite assured where he bats. I think what's been surprising is Asad Shafiq hasn't come off yet.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, if he kind of came off with Babar Azam and then Rizwan having the technique that he does, I think it's the middle order sorted. And it's a shame. We talked at length about Fawad Alam and his, his time in the domestic, the grind, and then to come back It's just so unfortunate. I'm still not convinced. It's almost as if fate played a role, and it just looked like what a innocuous dismissal for a play of his domestic record. What do you think, Taz?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it's like anybody's probably the the nerves and everything. Like it's kind of it's first game back and a lot of media attention, and I think it probably because it was, yeah, as you said, like wasn't something like you would expect like a top order batsman to sort of miss, but like I hope he gets another go.
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
really
jump
hope.
in. Just going to quickly
Yeah.
jump in there. Now, I didn't see Fawad Alam bat, but I did see an image of him standing pretty square. Did you guys see him bat? Did he actually do that? And what was going
Yeah.
on there?
Yeah, okay, I'll start on this.
Yep.
He starts off very square, agreed, and a lot is made of it. And I'll quickly jump onto. So he starts off square, right? We all agree that that's fine. But you see where he ends up when the ball is released. It's no different to any good batter.
Okay. I think Chandapal used to do something similar too, where he used to start off square, almost facing the shoulders facing, and then he used to basically get the front foot going down the pitch before the bowlers actually. bowled.
I've got I had the privilege of kind of playing cricket with and living with a gentleman called Subramani Badrinath, who played over 100 T20 IPL games. Obviously, on Facebook, he posted this, and I hope he won't mind me quoting him on it. And I'm quoting this, right? He posted a photo of Fawad Alam, and he's got much has been spoken about Fawad Alam's stance, as the term denotes. One can stand in any which way he wants. It's the readiness to play the ball that actually matters in batting.
Yep.
So that kind of sums it up. Then he's gone on to say the technical term would be active neutral position or the posture a batsman is in at the moment before he faces the delivery. That is what matters the most. Fawad gets side on from this stance at that particular moment.
Yeah,
so
I think I agree to it. And there's one more thing with that is like just how I see batting is your eyes are level. So even his open stance, his eyes were level and about to play. He aligned himself side on when he was about to play, which is obviously a better position to be in. But like through the whole process, his head wasn't like moving and so he was quite. I think he had a good balance. So I mean, obviously, he hasn't scored runs, so his stance got a lot more attention than it would have otherwise.
So we've got quite a few players around the world that are starting to, you'd say non-traditional.
It's been going
to batting. I mean, Steve Smith. No, well, I mean, like when you take a Steve Smith who is on the move, and then at the last moment before the ball's delivered, he's in a position, as you say, stable platform before he actually faces the bowler. But before that, just moments before that, he's actually got his feet moving all over the place.
So even it's not a modern age thing. It's if you go back to Ridley Jacobs, who used to be a keeper for West Indies.
Yeah.
He had a very unique stance. Go before him. This gentleman's name is Clayton Lambert from West Indies, left-handed opener. Used to absolutely butcher the ball, right? And his stance was terrible, but he smashed it. I think he's got a one-day 100. He even went on to play for USA. Again, very unique stance. Not so long ago, George Bailey played around with that closed-off stance. It's about trial and error and what works for you. And they all end up in the same position when the ball is delivered.
That's the key. Yeah.
The fundamentals don't change. They just get there in their own unique way. Tess, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like a lot of people had close stance as well. Someone like even Katic, like you watch him bat and you say, oh man, he's going to get LB. But, he just like he plays the way he does. I mean, he did, and he had a good international record. I think someone like Mccullum tried it, but it didn't come naturally to him. So it was almost like it didn't work out for him. But
it was forced.
It wasn't natural to him. But if it is natural to you, why would you change if you're scoring runs?
There's Paddy Upton talks about in his book, Paddy Upton, who used to be the mental conditioning coach for India under Gary Kirsten. He's got a renowned coach and does quite a bit of international stuff in IPL too. He talks about something where it's along the theme of flight or fight, right? So under pressure, you revert back to what's natural to you. So you're better off training what is natural to you, because if it's coached, then under pressure, you won't do it. You'll just revert to what's natural. So it's about maximizing your natural style and individualism and refining it as opposed to coaching it out.
Cool. Well, so basically, just to sum up the Pakistan batting, Rizwan would have been happy with his 72, Abid Ali with his 60. Babar Azam, a little bit sort of, he'd be happy with the 47, but obviously he'd want to go on. And even with the 47, he's managed to crack the ICC's top 5 batters, test batters. So he'd be happy with his return there.
Ashwin, I'll just quickly jump in there. After the first test loss for Pakistan, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon saying terrible captains from Azhar Ali, where's Sarfraz Ahmed, etc., etc. If Sarfraz Ahmed was here, Pakistan would have been all out for 120, because Rizwan was held back by Sarfraz Ahmed's inadequacies and staying in that team for too long.
Yeah, but
I'll just put it out there.
The counter argument for that would be like Sarfraz is like your, but like he will throw bat at anything, right? So like situations like these where like like you'll probably remember with a lot of keeper batsmen who come down the order who are not orthodox but just throw the bat at everything. So sort of a track where it's hard to bat orthodox and bat long and then score runs if you're limited with your technique. So I think Sarfraz could have been completely different package. Either would have been quick 70 runs of 50 odd balls or no runs, as Tarun said. But Rizwan is definitely your better bet to bat on a track like that. And again, one more thing with Pakistan tail, I think last 4 batsmen scored 8 runs.
Yes, that's a real concern for them, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think Pakistan is still carrying a longer tail.
What are the options here? Do they have any options?
So they've got either they play 6 batsmen. I mean, they play like one of, I think Sohail Khan is a bowler who can bat, like who probably bat better than like sort of Shaheen Shah or rest of the 3. And there's a left arm spinner who could play, but like who would you drop?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, yes, the last 4 contributed 8 runs, but that 9th wicket partnership went from 176 to 215, so that's not bad.
Oh, that's
hung around.
In there,
Mohammad Abbas.
Yeah, he batted for a while to allow Rizwan to score. So they are that, and you want to look at it in partnership, and the contribution they made was the time that they spent there. So if that can be prolonged by another 20-30%, that's not too bad.
Well, we'll hold that thought because we'll come back to it, because obviously when we look at the 3rd test and see what changes we want to make. Moving on to the English lineup, Stuart Broad just keeps on trucking on with another 4 wickets, and Jimmy Anderson, after a bit of talk about not picking up any wickets, gets 3. So 2 happy bowlers there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Anderson's position was in question, but as we were talking last week, if you drop him, that's probably would be end of the road for him. So now if they sort of rest him or drop him, I don't know. I think they should play him the next test match as well. Especially he's finding his late, like, away swing to the right-hander and bringing into the left-handers. So I don't know. I mean, Curran, didn't look threatening, but bowled all right. Vokes did bit with the ball, and so I mean, my mate Dom Best didn't bowl.
Yeah.
A
lot of trust in him.
I mean, they only bowled 46. How many overs? 90
odd overs
at all in 91 overs. Yeah, so that's a bit of a surprise.
Well, I suppose it was just a lot of. You look at the atmospheric conditions, the pitch conditions, perfect for your seam bowlers to come in or your swing bowlers to come in.
But also
has bowled 11 overs.
On off field though, but kind of you're on and off the field, so your rest periods are longer.
Yeah.
Look at the overs they did bowl. Those big boys, the seamers, they were smashing into the 20s, right? The top 2. And for Anderson at his age to bowl 27, but it's over a long period of time.
Yes.
He hasn't smashed it over 4 sessions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just like I'm just on. I think with Anderson, the other key thing is the fact is that he did, like during the West Indies series in particular, is there were a lot of drop catches off his bowling. So I suppose his bowling figures could have been quite different if they'd held on to a few catches.
Yes, and
Makes a
especially
difference.
early on in the innings, like if you drop a catch off his bowling in first 10 overs, that's criminal, because obviously he's not getting any younger, and if you don't get that boost early on, it's hard to sort of put effort in later.
Absolutely.
So England comes in and they get to bat for the whole sum of 40 odd overs, and Crawley and Sibley do well. Concerns around for them around that they really don't have a great opening partnership. They've lost an early wicket, whether it was again the West Indies series or the 2 matches against Pakistan. They've lost early wicket. That'd be something of a concern for them.
Yeah, I guess like Cook has been there for ages, right? And after him, they're still sort of playing around and finding the right combination. And it's just like Burns scored some runs, and then he obviously is on and off. So no one has been consistent enough. And it happens, like, when you have someone like, sort of Cook who played at that
There
position
for so
for
long.
about 15 years, it's hard to replace people like him.
Yeah,
And I suppose it's something that you alluded to, Tarun, with the even within a game, where you build partnerships, you build that combination with your batting partner.
yeah, exactly. And it's also how would you put it? Like, I know Taz touched on the Cook part, but England struggles at the opening end started when Strauss finished. Cook kind of kept one end set, and then there was a bit of a musical chairs happening at one end, but Cook was always there. So somebody had a nice little purple patch and they contributed, like Carberry came and went, and people just kept coming and going, but Cook was always there. And while Cook was finishing up, nobody quite established himself. So it's kind of opened up both ends at the moment for them at the top. So every game, one comes off, the other one doesn't. So they don't have a solid opening start yet.
Something to work on. And then for the, I suppose, moving on to the bowling, because I said there was only 40 odd overs. Not a lot you can really get from that, apart from, I don't know, I'll let you guys go. You saw some of the Pakistani bowling. What did you take away from that?
I guess again it was start and stop. Like I think
can't get a rhythm going.
Yeah, it's they obviously Mohammad Abbas and Shaheen bowled a lot of overs, and then Yasir Shah bowled a few. I was surprised Naseem Shah only bowled 5. So
they're carrying him.
Like Abbas was probably
carrying him.
Abbas was on the money most of the times. So I guess that was a track. He's like poor man's Muhammad Asif,
Yeah.
And
So
Tarun, you don't think that Naseem Shah should be there?
Nah. And I even think they probably within their squad they probably needed another, like a sharpish swing bowler, like somebody who actually do something with the ball. Because through the middle you've got a fantastic spinner, right? So he will get you wickets. What you need is in the front 40, you need guys attacking and taking poles. And I don't think, and so Shaheen offers you that speed and that pace. You needed 2 magicians with the ball that can get you wickets through that, and these guys can then go on to the holding role. And Naseem Shah, I'm not convinced, not yet. I'd hate to face him, but but I'm not convinced at that level yet.
Yeah,
think about Akeem David, Taz.
Taz, right of reply.
Akeem David.
Yeah, I guess like out and out pace. I mean, like I know what you mean. It's just like because Pakistan obviously over the years have been like last 10 years especially, we haven't really had like Muhammad Amir would have been ideal, like if he was around, like but he's I was like if it was if how much the wicket was doing, someone like even Wahab Riaz with just extra pace, and he's aggressive, so he pushes the batsman back, and someone like other bowlers would have been more effective if someone can push he's just aggressive bowler. He started to swing it, like bring it in last 2 years, but again out and out quick, and he's probably around the same pace as Naseem Shah, maybe a yard quicker, but he is the guy who will bowl bouncers, like Wagner for New Zealand.
Yeah. I mean, agreed. I think so. Amir is available. He's chosen to make himself unavailable because he's married to a British national, right? So he's probably in the country as we speak. And
Mohammad Amir,
I think he's in the country for the white ball cricket.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
So
he's actually in quarantining at the moment.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's not available. Like you said, he would have been perfect with the new ball. And I'm not sold on Wahab Riaz, but he would have been a better bet than Naseem Shah just yet.
It's just like, if your third seamer's role is to push the batsman on the back foot. I mean, I guess like Wahab Riaz, maybe not back-to-back test matches, but one-off,
Yeah.
test match. He
would have reversed it as well.
And he can bat. He can hit a ball.
Yeah.
So that sort of solves your problem of number 8, number 9,
So let's move on to this.
And he was considered not for this test match, but for the series, but he's been left out. So, but he's still in England. So,
is Amir's available for test match play, or is he retired from tests?
Amir's retired from test.
Yeah,
he
isn't he?
retired from red ball cricket. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, let's move on to the third test. What about something from left field? And he's there. He's finished his quarantining. Grab Mohammed Amir in and say we're chucking him into that third test.
I would love to see him bowl in test matches.
Yeah,
because
he's probably a test match bowler than he's a white ball bowler anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess like at the moment at the bench or people who are already in England. So we've got Sohail Khan and Wahab Riaz possibly, who are part of the wider squad and still in England. So I guess like if they want to drop one of the, maybe rest Naseem Shah and get one of those two guys in, that also helps your batting, but at the same time, obviously helps your bowling.
Is Riaz a serious contender for that third test, you reckon?
I don't know. He's been talked about for the series, but because they didn't pick him for the first test, so I assume that because he kind of pulled out from red ball cricket last year, alongside Amir, but then he made himself available. So I don't know if they want to look back, and get him in.
I think it's a tough one. Like you want to pick Wahab Riaz for his batting skills, but I think Sohail Khan will probably give you a bit more with the ball on an all-round level. And Wahab, I don't think Wahab would give you any. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I think Sohail Khan will probably give you more.
We talked about the Neil Wagner type effect before. Do you feel that Wahab Riaz has got more of that angry bowler type, coming in more aggressively?
I think it's one thing to be angry, and it's another thing to be Neil Wagner, who's consistently demonstrated that skill and got wickets with it. That's ridiculous what he's achieved. I literally cannot think of anyone else in the world that's got wickets the way he has for that period of time, at that pace, for that many years. A lot of them have done it over 6 to 8 overs. Great. He's done it for 8 years.
Oh. Note the time.
That goes to show you how much I genuinely admire the bloke for what he's done. Like, I just can't believe he's done it for 8 years.
Oh, it's been incredible.
So, look, we've had the question coming through from Facebook. What's the weather looking like for the third test? So here it is.
It's England.
It's England. I'll bring it up on the screen. There we go. We've got basically it's better. It's a better forecast than last for the second test. We're not seeing a lot of 100%, which we saw last time when we looked at the weather forecast for the next sort of 5 to 6 days.
Wait.
Well,
Wait.
Well, I sort of think, like Tarun, you mentioned it last time, is like, with the English summer, what we can get is like you get a weather forecast that says there's going to be rain. The rain comes through, the rain moves on. It's the rain for the day, and the rest of the day is okay. So with the weather forecast that we see at the moment, that's the sort of forecast that we could say that would happen.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know, right? It's such a small island. Is it coming from the continent that it's going to blow through, or is it coming from the Atlantic that it's going to come sit, or is it the other way around? We don't know. So the experts out there will know, and it literally, is it just showers? It looks like it's just going to be showers.
Yep.
So it could be a hit and miss. I'm sure ECB will do anything and everything to make sure that they get some cricket, so they get that television thing, the broadcasting happening, and
I always wonder why they can't do a covered stadium. It's not.
They did. Remember in Australia, the ball had the roof and came flat down.
Yeah, but like for England, especially where that there will be a lot of rain, But I guess sort of because there's a lot of money at stake, because there's a lot of sponsorship money and then advertising and TV rights and whatnot. So I mean, I guess there must be something. There must be a reason they're not doing it. But
I'll tell you what it is.
2020, you expect them to be doing it.
For Test cricket, I'll tell you what it is. They're English. It's not proper cricket, lad. You know? It's not real cricket.
Tarun, how many times did the ball hit the roof?
What is this? Are we in a bunker again?
Hey, look, since we've digressed onto the game and how it gets disrupted by the weather, one of the things is that with light conditions and there's obviously been some rules changes in the last few years. In the past it was the light was bad, it's offered to the batsman. It was really the batsman that decided whether they went off or not. Now it's the umpires that decide. And the other thing is the fact that they seem to start the games so much later in the day. I mean, I remember as a kid, and the games used to start at, when the test matches in New Zealand, they were starting at 10 o'clock. So these days they're starting at 11. And then you get a bad light at the end of the day. If you're starting at 10, you're finishing at 5. If you need to carry on till 6, you've got that sort of time to fit in a few overs. But if you're starting at 11 and finishing at 6, you've got 6 till 7, and you can get the light fades and isn't so great. But what are your thoughts? I sort of think start the game earlier. Gives you more options.
I guess in England, I don't know what's the sunset time now, but it's generally longer days than New Zealand.
Yep.
But more, right. I think because now they've started doing the day-night test cricket, so that's what prompted me to say that why can't they have covered stadiums then? So that the rain is out of question for something like this.
Or you could start at 11 and just understand that the last hour gets played in twilight, and you have the lights on 100%. And you just.
I was just going to come to that. What's wrong with turning the lights on?
5 days. Just turn the lights on for all 5 days. Or even leave it in the captain's hands. Say, hey, look, at the toss, make it a part of the strategy. Hey, look, we're expecting poor weather. Are you happy with all 5 days being under lights, regardless of whatever, right? Throw it in the hands of the players, the custodians of the game, as opposed to the bureaucrats sitting there going, oh, no, we can't do that because we've agreed in bylaw XYZ that this is how we're going to play.
Yeah, look, I mean, I absolutely agree. It's just why not chuck it over to the players? I mean, we go back a few years and England Black Caps at Eden Park, and there was a series agreement that they could go and turn the lights on and carry on playing. Now, that got dangerous because the red ball at night, even with lights, was quite hard to see. But in twilight, it's not an issue, is it, really? You get the lights in to just amp the light up a bit, and it's okay. The red ball might not work when it's totally dark under lights, but it works fine under twilight.
Yeah. Yep. And literally, and leave it to the captains on that test. It can be quite fluid. If you're expecting poor weather, both captains agree this is how we're going to play at the start of the test. And if you're the underdog, you have the opportunity to say, no, actually, I'm happy to take the draw. So, no, I don't want that rule enforced. So you just play the traditional rule. So it's a bit like that Major League Baseball, right? You've got what's the National League and the whatever conference. So different rules. So you have the opportunity to actually go, yeah, we'll play this, or we don't want to play this.
Right. Okay. Did not know that. Look, we better move on. But before we do, changes for the England team. Are we expecting any? I'm sort of thinking maybe some rotation in the bowlers.
Yeah, I guess again, I'm very hard on the young lad. I mean, they'll probably won't drop Dombes, but they can probably rest. I don't know, one of the older guys.
Dombes? Do you want him to rest Dombes? Don't drop him, but rest him.
So
Root can bowl a bit of spin. That's okay, and you can get another fast bowler in there.
Look, I mean, if the track is something like what it was last Test match, I mean, you definitely, if you can bring in another batsman. I don't know. Your thoughts, Darren?
I think it comes down to some really good coaching and management styles. If you go down the road of leaving out your spinner, and I'm not saying this, at all in defense of spinners, but once you start going down the road of leaving out a spinner, it's a slippery slope. you then start loading yourself on green tracks, and your brand of cricket changes. And there's also the element, okay, forget COVID and what's happening. There's the element of developing a spinner and keeping him there, because he's also got a role to win you matches in 3 months' time when you're touring the subcontinent or the Caribbean.
That's true.
So they're keeping them in the system, not just the system, but in the 11 and being part of the game. There's a development element as well. So they've got to be very careful, and that falls on the coaching management and the leadership group. If it's a one-off, yeah, totally get it. But bigger picture stuff, there is a development focus as well.
So who would you
So
leave
in a nutshell, I wouldn't leave out Dombes.
out? But was Sam Curran sort of effective enough?
Nice bowler, good white ball cricketer. Other than outside of England, possibly in New Zealand with the Duke's ball, but not even with the Kookaburra, is he going to hurt anybody after his first spell? Is he going to cause havoc with the Kookaburra in Australia at the next Ashes? Probably not.
No.
Right?
So that means that from what you're saying, you take Curran out, you chuck Archer back in with a view to that Ashes development again.
No, not development, but is he outside? He's like, it's a bit like an older Anderson. Older Anderson at his prime only did so much in Australia. So if Curran, unless he picks up a yard of space or he actually starts working a bit of magic with the Kookaburra, he's still only going to be at best a poor man's Muhammad Abbas. With the new ball only. After that, what's he going to do? He's going to bat, yes. He's a good fielder, yes. But if you're chosen as a bowler, your role is very different. So I think he'd be the first guy I'd be looking at if I was, playing around with my squad.
Right. So we move on to Pakistan. We'll move on to. Sorry.
Mark Wood. He's obviously sitting out for a wee while, and he might have a point to prove.
There's he's been played quite a lot of test matches this summer, down under already. So is he due a break?
Who's that?
The old statesman.
Anderson. As we sort of keep thinking, innit? If Anderson misses out on a test, it might be his last.
Yeah.
Hey, not necessarily.
No, you got to break.
He'll just go on ice and he'll come back in April next year. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I don't think he travels, or he plays one test and that's it. He gets rotated in the subcontinent. And let's be honest, no one's going anywhere this winter.
Yeah,
that's true.
There'll be teams coming to New Zealand, won't there?
Well, I think they probably have to reciprocate the tour to Pakistan and West Indies, to be honest.
Yep. So speaking of Pakistan, let's move on to Pakistan. Changes for Pakistan into the third test.
Nothing shall drop.
So top six, unless they obviously drop Fawad Alam, but top six is sorted. Keeper is secure. Yasir Shah 8. So I think it's just maybe leaving out one of the batsmen or one of the fast bowlers, and maybe resting one of the fast bowlers and bringing someone different. Especially with Naseem Shah, he's played back-to-back 2 test matches, although he only bowled 5 overs in this. I guess they will probably rest one of the 2 young players, but as Tarun said, probably Naseem Shah is looking less threatening than Shaheen Shah, so I would probably rest Naseem and bring in maybe Sohail Khan.
Yeah, I agree. I watched him against Warner when he bowled a couple of nuts last year. He bowled really good, but there was nothing really happening with the ball. There was no real movement, lateral movement in the air, nothing really off the deck. It was just really good pace up and down. And unless you're like a show actor, scary quick, at that level, it's just par for course. Like they're okay with it. You've either got to have a show actor. Even Shoaib Akhtar swung it, didn't he, Taz?
Yeah.
He swung that ball, eh?
Yeah, very cool.
Yep, definitely.
Naseem Shah is young, nothing against that. But right now, with Pakistan wanting and desperate to square the series, you've got to turn to a better experience. And I think, like we talked about, possibly Sohail Khan and maybe potentially Wahab Riaz.
Alrighty, we'll move it.
Yeah, now that I thought about it, I think I'd go for Wahab He'll give you a bit of batting. He can be a third seamer. That way, Sheen Shaheen can pitch it up, swing it, and Abbas can swing it.
Done. We'll take that one for $1. We'll move along because we've got a couple other things we need to get through. So we'll look forward to that. That game starts tomorrow, New Zealand time, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the evening. So we won't. We'll wake up Saturday morning, I suppose, and find out what's happened in that one. And now moving on to the CPL. So basically, the CPL has just kicked off a couple of days ago in the Caribbean. Obviously, they're playing in 2 venues. Last year, the Tridents took out the final, beating the Guyana Amazon Warriors, who were the runners-up. That was interesting because that reversed the table. Oh, I think am I still coming through, guys?
You're frozen.
Breaking up.
Oh dear,
You're breaking up.
I'm frozen, aren't I?
You are.
Oh, what's happening there?
Your internet must be.
I am. Can you hear me though?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
You can keep the chat going, and
What's happening?
Ashwin's frozen himself out at the moment because of.
Oh, okay. We'll just keep it going,
What's
eh?
going?
Keep it
Sorry
going.
about the technical
Yes.
difficulties.
Yeah. So
CPL.
we're talking about CPL.
CPL, yeah.
Has anyone seen any clips of
Look.
it?
I've just seen some highlights, but yeah, I think the timing is not right for us to watch it live.
Yeah.
No. It's really good actually. The second round is always at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Again,
It's so it's
So
better?
like 1
Better now?
1 a.m. 1
Is
a.m. in the morning start, and another one's a 9 p.m. start, I think.
Okay.
Is it on Sky? Is it
Yeah, Aaron was telling me that it is on Sky.
right?
Okay, there you go. The teams for the
all right.
PS.
There we go. So
CPL.
they've got the teams back up. Can you? I think I'm back on again. I think I've unfrozen.
Yes.
Yeah, no, sorry, I've got too many windows open with all the things that we're trying to bring up. But there's our squad. So basically, as I was just saying, last year it was the Tridents that took it out, and it was actually interesting because it flipped it out around from the table. So the Amazon Warriors finished the top, but the Tridents finished second in the table. But in the final, is the Tridents that actually took it out in 2019. This year, with the COVID-19, there's been a lot of players pulling out, or players that didn't get their travel documents or arrangements for travel sorted out in time that had to be submitted to the respective Caribbean governments, and therefore, and so that they could complete their 2 weeks of quarantining. So there was a lot of changes in the squads. I've got the squads up there. I suppose looking at the squads, I don't know if you guys can hopefully see that, but who are the players that you can see that want to watch out for?
Chris Gale moving to St. Lucia Zooks.
Chris Gale's pulled out, mate. Can't keep
Hey?
up. Yeah, he's pulled out.
Yeah.
Family reasons.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, because I knew there was a game on today, and I was going to, I wonder if he's going to play. There you go.
No, it is.
Okay.
It's actually.
Now there's no reason for me to watch it anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, we've got a few Kiwis playing there.
there is.
We've got a
Well,
few Kiwis, so we'll
there's
go
a
through
bit,
them. Yep. Sorry, Karen.
Good plug for Manukau City's got 2 players. Manukau City Cricket Club has 2 players there. It's Cody and Nick Kelly, both playing for St. Lucia. No, St. Kitts. St. Kitts and Nevis. Patriot.
Yep. Right. So Nick Kelly, yes, it's interesting. Nick Kelly, it's not a name that's well known in New Zealand cricket, but a Northern Districts player.
Northern District player who's moved to Otago. Good player. He's, I mean, you can see the connection there. I think you put the pieces together. You would think, like you mentioned, with a lot of players unable to make it, get there. So, from what I understand, you had to get on a plane and get yourself to London to get onto a chartered flight at a certain day. If you couldn't get your country, or if your borders were closed or whatever, then meant you missed out, and a lot of South Africans did miss out. Which is where someone like Nick Kelly, who is a good friend of East Sodi, I'm just piecing it together, making a few assumptions. It kind of opened up a door for him. And good on him. He's a good player. 2 years ago, I think he pumped a double 100 against in Counties Premier League in just a standard club game. My brief flirt with Northern Knights that year, he was fantastic, did really well there, and then he was actually pulled down to Otago where he actually did well again. What I am surprised here is that I don't see Anton Devicic, because he would have been tailor-made for those kind of pitches, and he's probably a better version of Nick Kelly.
And he
So
bowls
I'm
as well.
surprised. Yeah, well, exactly, right, and he's already been there before. So I'm surprised he's not there. But again, with him being a family man, a lot of them probably didn't want to do the isolation and quarantining period and be away from family for extended periods of time.
And I suppose the reality is that there is a risk element. You're traveling around the world with this pandemic going on. You want to stay home and stay safe, don't you? If you got family in particular.
Yeah, eggs are. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So look,
Depends on
quickly-
how many zeros are next to your crows.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had a couple of games already, and we've seen Mitchell Satner going pretty well. He bowled 4 overs and got a couple of wickets, and key wickets too, because they were in the game. There was Chris Lynn and Ben Dunk, the 2 Australians who like hitting a ball a long way. So he helped their Tridents get home in that game. Corey Anderson didn't trouble the scorers too much in that one, but yeah, Satner picked up 20 runs and, as I said, a couple of wickets for not too many runs. So he did quite well there.
I see Glenn Phillips did really well.
Yep.
He dominated in one game.
Yeah, he got about
Right,
40 runs in his game. That's right.
He's turning into a bit of an incumbent for the Jamaica Talibans. He's been there for probably his 3rd or 4th gig
Third
now.
season, yeah,
with
third
them.
season.
Yeah, and he's a lovely guy too. So yeah, I'm so stoked every time. So if anyone that knows him is just a wonderful person. So yeah, like every time you see him do well, you're like, oh yeah, makes you quite happy. Makes you feel like you're scoring the runs yourself.
Hey, one player I want to talk about that who's really, he performs fantastically well. He's West Indian, Sunil Narayan. It's just unfortunate that we're only ever going to see him playing in T20 games, really, isn't it? We won't see him in playing for the West Indies. He's only really going to be playing T20 competitions around the world. But already he scored a 50. He's bowled really well. He's just I think he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah. Oh man, look at his record, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
His
last 3
record
years, his
deserves
batting
more
has come a
international.
long way.
Sorry, what's that, Taz?
In last 3 years, his batting has come a long way as well, and has been sort of used up the order even in IPL.
Yep. Well, it's the IPL that first introduced him as an opening batter, if I remember correctly. Back early days, they sort of trialled it, and then they're sort of on and off. He used to start for the IPL team that he played in.
I can't recollect the entire story, but listening to the couple of guys who played in that team, I think it had a lot to do with Brendan McCullum. When he saw him bat the nets and it's gone, Jesus, this guy can hit the ball. He needs to be opening the batting, not hiding at night. And it had, I think, whatever his transformation from a batting front actually had to do with Brendan McCullum at the Kolkata Knight Riders.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's probably there is some sort of a connection. I don't remember the entire story. But there are some unique names there. You've got Dominic Drakes. I think he's the son of Baspert Drakes, who used to be a former West Indian fast bowler. He spent a lot of time in South Africa. He's there. He's coming through. Johnson Charles, who's played for West Indies as well. Heaps of names that you'd actually recognise if you follow a bit of international cricket.
In particular West Indian cricket.
Yeah, true.
But I guess like from CPL's perspective, all the big names are covered. Like, obviously all their big names, apart from Chris Gale, but rest of them are all featuring in the games, which is probably important for CPL, especially with COVID around.
It's worth noting that it has an interest to hear your thoughts. They do have a infatuation with Afghanistani cricket players. Like, they do pick up a lot of Afghan pros.
Yes.
So even like unknowns, like they don't necessarily pick up international stars, they just pick up fringe players
I
as
think
well.
they even picked one 15 or 16-year-old left arm spinner, Noor Ali. His
Yeah.
visa something didn't work out in time, but so they kind of they are investing in Afghanistan like spinners mainly.
Yeah. So is that because those guys are proven players, or is there a bit of a connection, or how would they get onto the radar?
I guess like if you remember, Rashid Khan once obviously came, like 4 years ago, and he was good, and then Mujib he hasn't played much cricket, but still got an IPL contract. So I guess it's just like how a certain country starts producing certain things, like West Indies with fast bowlers. Like, there are a lot of West Indian fast bowlers who would have played, like who didn't play for West Indies, but would have played for any other era. So I think with Afghanistan, Rashid Khan and all these top spinners playing for Afghanistan, we don't get to see anything below them. And they still have the quality. I think they still have enough quality in there.
That's a really good excuse to use for my lack of cricket. Oh, Vittori was around,
We'll play that one.
Yeah.
Right. Well, moving along, we'll sort of like the old statesman of Indian cricket team has retired from international cricket. Mahindra Singh Dhoni sort of deciding this week to hang up the international hat anyway. And look, a fabulous career, isn't it? And we'll look at some of his stats here. The performances, and when we look at the sort of, in particular, what stood out to me in ODIs, an average of 50 in one-day internationals. Fabulous cricketer.
I mean, his records speak, obviously pretty high for himself. And I think what I personally liked about him was like calmness. Like, obviously when Pakistan plays India, I would be supporting Pakistan. But like just his presence and calmness, especially while he's batting, he was, he was brilliant keeper as well. But just as a batsman, he was just calm in the middle while chasing. I think it just changed the sort of dynamics of finishes, because generally finishes are like big hitters, but he could do both. Like, if he wanted to bat time, he could do that as well. So I think it was just an amazing person overall.
I think you're right in that sense that he actually did. One of the things he sort of brought to international sort of one-day internationals and the T20 is the way to pace that chase towards the end of the innings. You'd be sitting there going, oh my God, the run rate's getting up to 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s. But he just made sure he kept ticking the scoreboard over, and he managed the whole situation in the scenario, and knew in the last few overs, if he needed to, he could get those 14, 15s in the last 2-3 overs if he needed to. And that was the thing that sort of stood out to me. And, the number of people that sort of think, oh, what's he doing? But the calmness, as you say, to stay calm under that pressure to see the game through.
That World Cup final that he had, that innings to win that, just a pure example of it.
India was in trouble early, and he got them as close as he did. I mean, he got a 50 in that last, what turned out to be his last innings in international ODIs was a 50, and
I wasn't talking about that one where they lost that game, but this is the one where they played in the final.
Oh, you're talking about where they got the 6 off Sri Lanka.
Yeah, against Sri Lanka and winning the World Cup final. That was a great example of being a closer there. What a fabulous innings to watch. But we're lucky he didn't do it against us in the last World Cup.
Well, he got so close. He got close. It wasn't far away.
Yeah,
it was a brilliant bit of fielding that basically brought his innings to an end.
I have to say, I'm a bit gutted personally. I didn't get to watch much of Dhoni in his earlier days because I think he was famous for his helicopter shot, and I've been trying to find out, on Google and looking up his helicopter shots. Everyone's talking about it.
You'll find plenty of those. You will not be short of footage.
No.
Yeah. I think, look, everyone's, the biggest thing with Dhoni, like, you take away the stats, right? Forget the stats. The stats are what they are. But and the what really kind of describes him is probably something that stats, the intangibles that he kind of brought to the Indian team. It's his absolute game awareness, like his supreme game awareness in all aspects of the game, across the board, from ball one to finish, even determining the squads, reading the pitch, managing personalities, his mannerisms, everything. I think that's probably what he'll be known for, not necessarily. And the helicopter shot. That's about it. You forget all his, his knocks and his ability, supreme confidence in himself to chase down whatever total that is 36 and below in the last over. He had the confidence to chase it down. If you look up videos, he was pretty much putting his hand out going, no singles. He just took 6 balls and tried to chase down 14, 15, 25, whatever. But the biggest thing is how he controlled his bowlers. Taz, what do you think? Like he had a lot of young spinners, and he made them fantastic spinners. And I think they owe it to Dhoni being behind the stumps. And their real learnings will now show up when Dhoni's not there telling them how to bowl.
Yeah, you're on the spot, because with him, like obviously the spinners especially prospered in shorter formats. And as you can see, because we obviously understand Hindi, and sometimes they're playing, some of the teams, and he's sort of instructing the bowler to change his line or bowl wider or fuller or whatever. And it was all spot on. And you're right, like especially for spinners, the captain, if someone gives you advice from behind the stumps, and someone like Dhoni, who was spot on, really helps. And definitely without him, they will struggle.
Yeah. And he's complete chalk and cheese, right? With their current captain compared to what Dhoni was like in terms of his body language, chalk and cheese. This guy is probably going to turn around and go, oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? As opposed to the other guy going, yeah, that's fine. There's some fantastic articles floating around social media at the moment, and some of them about little quirky things Dhoni says from behind the stumps that the stump mic picked up. So, and it's actually really cool stuff. Like, actually, they're all really witty. He never yells at them. There's one where apparently he's trying to get attention off Srisant, a deep square leg boundary to get him moved squarer. And Srisant wasn't paying attention. He was looking into the stands. And this article says that he just turned and goes, "Oh, Sri, your girlfriend's not over there. Come this way." This way. They said, "Oh, just hurry up and move this way, or pay attention when I'm talking to you." None of that. He goes, "Oh, there's no girlfriend there. Keep moving this way." Obviously, Hindi.
Yeah. And I think his body language on the field was awesome. Like it felt like even the things were not going his way, he was still he was still calm and under control. Whereas someone like, no offense with Saurav Ganguly, but I've got some mates who've played against India around that time in ODIs and stuff, and they said there was a lot of advice coming through, obviously Sachin, and it was almost like when the things were tough, other people were taking over, from Ganguly. Whereas with Dhoni, it was just he was the man,
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's you saw in games where he'd basically say to one of his players, this is like, just calm down, it's okay. Yeah. Because I think doesn't matter what sport you play, if you lose your rag, if you lose control, it affects your game big time. And the last thing you want to do is to lose control, because then you can't. It doesn't matter how good you are, you can't then perform to the maximum that you can.
Another person who comes close to that kind of attitude or thinking is actually Brendan McCullum. He talked about, again, my brief interactions with him, he talked about kind of staying on the equilibrium, not going up, not going down. Like, you just detach yourself from the result and you just follow the process. You just do what needs to be done and things will look after itself. And he was very similar. If you look at New Zealand's 2015 success, he didn't go up, he didn't go down. Like, he was just literally...
He just maintained it at a certain level.
Everyone's getting excited around him, winning or losing. He just kept poker face, right? He just cool. Same guy, whatever the result. And again, very similar kind of people, I think.
And wicketkeepers.
Yeah, wicketkeepers. Absolutely. Great call.
Hey, look, we're sort of like we'll move it along because we've got our last thing that we will fit in, even though we've gone over time as we always do anyway. Is it's like, and I think it's a quick one. So the man cad we've had just in the last couple of days, where Ricky Ponting is talking about having a chat with Ravi Ashwin about using the man cad as an option for dismissals. Obviously, Ricky Ponting's not a fan. We've talked about it on the show previously. I don't think we've changed, have we, guys? At the end of the day, it's a mode of dismissal that's in the game, and we sort of think if you remove it, then the batsman can get yet another advantage that they've got lots of anyway.
Yeah, I guess like unless there is a ruling around the umpire making the call that if the batsman is leaving early and then umpire can give obviously 5 penalty runs. I've seen it's been done in club cricket against us, but
Even
so
as
I
down
think,
as
like,
club cricket.
onus is on the umpires. I mean, if they feel like the batsman is leaving early consistently, they can penalize them. I guess like that's the other way of doing it. But yeah, it's legal but unethical.
Is it
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Is it player umpires?
That's true.
I mean,
your own teammate, Dr. 5.5.
I mean, my question around this is, right, like, I totally get that. Like, Taz, I mean, we should all remember this. I would have been the youngest out of the lot of the four of us when this happened. But remember Peter Kirsten and Kapil Dev when they came out of apartheid and India went to South Africa for a 7-match series? He did a man-cat, did.
Yeah.
But he gave him 2 warnings and he got him on the 3rd time. The point, I mean, yes, there's an element of warning and it's against the spirit of the game. If it's against the spirit of the game, take it out. One, right? So there was one element of, is it right or wrong is one thing, but technically, legally speaking, it's okay to do. So my question is then, and Sharuban is listening, and if Sharuban's listening, question for him. You as a coach, how far do you go before you impose your own views on a player on how he should play the game? So is Ponting right in saying, hey, we don't play the game that way? But he knew Ashwin plays the game the way he does. He chose to buy him. Why would you now change it? That's the question I'm posing to us. Then why is that right or wrong?
You basically,
because
you go, Taz, sorry.
Yeah, it's a team sport, right? So you need to sort of like, especially this thing, which obviously you can discuss these things with the team group. Like if we were in a team and if we were discussing it, everyone has to agree to it, because it's just all the one person does it, but it reflects the whole team, and it could put down your own teammates as well. Like, because maybe 10 other guys don't like it, and you're doing it because who you are, but you're part of the 11 as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So I guess like this is something good to bring in a team meeting and see what's the and if everyone agrees it, or most of the teammates agree it, then that's fine, because obviously you want to win a game. But personally, like I always discourage people to do it, as long as if they give enough warnings to the batsman. If they're still doing it, then do it.
No, so here's the thing. Yes, the Delhi Capitals play their game a certain way under Ricky Ponting's leadership. Agreed. Whatever that might be, right or wrong, it's their way. And that previous year, Ponting, Ashwin was playing for Kings 11 Punjab. He was playing for a different team. And Ricky Ponting obviously says in his interview, said, Ashwin is a player we actually created room to be able to purchase him. So they actively purchased this buy. So they knew what he was as a player. So why would you buy him? If he doesn't fit within your culture or the way you play, why would you buy him? And then why would you buy something and then manipulate, try and change something? Get something that fits your needs, right? So yeah, I'm not with it. I'm not saying that's right, but I'm not saying it's wrong either. A batsman doesn't say, oh, mate, your foot was only an inch over the line. It's not a no ball. I'll walk off because it's a good nut. You know, you go, shame it's a no ball.
I guess, like, I mean, there are two sides to it, but what I'm trying to say is, like, it does affect the whole team, like your own whole team. So as long as everyone buys into it,
Absolutely.
But
So
then
that's the point of question, right? Why get him when he doesn't fit your philosophy?
Yeah. That's it. This is like you're trying to set up a culture of a team. It's just like you don't go around buying players that aren't going to fit your culture.
Yeah, and then you buy him, and then you want to change him. Hang on, he's just as capable. It's not like you're getting an 18-year-old rookie. You're getting an established world-class spinner who's done. He's got what 200 plus Test wickets. He's allowed to have his own way of playing as well, right? And he'll fit into another model somewhere else that'll embrace him for who he is, because he'll probably have a very realistic justification for his actions as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, we'll see now as we wait for just for Sharubin. Just to let you know, I'm not playing for the Delhi Capitals. It'll be Ravi Chandra, Ashwin, that'll be doing that, not me. So, but let's wait. We'll see now. I think it's September, that middle of September, that the IPL kicks off. Or was it October? I've lost my bearings on when that kicks off, and we'll have to keep an eye on whether Ravi Chandra, Ashwin, not me, goes and tries a man CAD after having a chat with Ricky Ponting. So we wait and look forward to seeing how he plays the game and whether it's a change in his habits. We've also split, I suppose, in terms of what's it?
You've been too harsh on it. It's not habits. It's a one-off.
It's a one-off. Oh, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we've also agreed. It's just like, we have a little bit of consensus. I know we're sort of on different pages, but if it's a continual habit from the batsman, then he's fair game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or they change the rules in terms of what Taz said, is that they change the rules. It becomes the umpire. It goes back to the umpire. The umpire looks to -5 runs, or does some sort of deduction off them.
Yeah,
They're going, but they have to make that a formal rule.
If that happens, though, Taz, don't you think it needs to be almost 7 runs? Because if you're batting up the non-striker, I'll run the risk of getting you back on strike because you'll hit a 6 next ball. So it's got to be 6 plus something. So it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
It can be
like, in reality, like, these things can distract you from your own game as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and I mean, I've seen people sort of getting detracked with that. So I guess, like, if they want to bring a rule in, they can. But I personally think a warning to the batsman before getting, like, man-cated, it's probably fair call.
Fair call.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we better wrap it up there because we've gone well over time today. So thanks, guys, for once again being on the show. Really appreciate it. The information that you guys bring to the show was just absolutely fantastic. So thank you again, Taz, Tarun, and Rohit for being on the show tonight. And basically, thank you everybody out there for viewing today. Make sure that you hit the like button, and more importantly, hit that share button. If the more you share it, the more that our love goes out to the rest of the cricketing world, and the more that they get to see it, and then they come and watch the show as well, which will help us. If we get those numbers up, we might even get some sponsors. So that'll be awesome. So remember to tune in to New Zealand Sport Radio on a daily basis. We've got the morning sports briefing every morning at 7 a.m. in the morning to get your up-to-date information on what's happening in the sports world. Then we've got the Driving Mall show on Monday nights, starting at 8 o'clock as well. Tuesday, there's the basketball show, which has just started. That's been going for a couple of weeks. So if you're into a bit of basketball and dribbling around, tune into that show on 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. League show on Wednesday night. Get all this. League show on Wednesday night. Our show, the best show on the radio channel, Swinging from the Hip on Thursdays. And then there's some preview shows for Super Rugby also happening on Fridays and Sundays. So make sure that you keep tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio for all your sporting content. And we'll see you back here at 8 p.m. on Thursday nights for more Swinging from the Hip. Thank you.